Hello and welcome to the Comedy Slab. I'm Shane O'Connor. He's Adrian Lacey. I'm not saying it's hot. I'm not saying it's hot. Oh, no, I am saying it's hot. Do you know, I nearly did it outside tonight.
Did you? Well, I'm glad you resisted the temptation.
But then I had to come in and do the Comedy Slab edit. No, I did, seriously. I thought, it's so... Because I'm basically living in a biscuit tin, which, you know, for younger viewers who have not been with us very long...
biscuit tin is a tin for biscuits.
I'm living in this blooming caravan while they're building this house.
Alan Partridge style.
Very much so. Very much so. I'll go and talk to the builders in the same. I'll put my foot up on the side.
Be a man of the people.
Say you're ruddy, bloody mad, you lot. What's grabbing myself? But no, it's just so, isn't it warm? It's lovely, isn't it? We are doing that British thing at the moment where we complain about the weather for 9 months of the year, and then the weekend we have sunshine. We go, I can't stand much more of this.
I can't wait for it to get colder.
Anyway, this is the Comedy Slab. We're no more about the weather. Actually, we'll have a forecast at the end. No more about the weather. That we're going to talk about comedy because every week we alternately choose a comedy program to have a watch or a listen to. And apologies for the cars going past if you can hear them, by the way. That's one of the other problems of living in a biscuit tin. And we have a chat about them. This is where Adrian and I get together and talk about the programme that was chosen. I chose last week, and I chose a comedy called Henry the Ninth, which more of in a little while. We'll play a couple of clips between now and the end of the show, and we'll give it a mark out of 5 each, giving it a grand total out of 10. I think that just about sums it up. You're looking very cool, by the way, can I say? We do see each other while we're recording this, and you're looking cool and casual, baby.
It must be my cucumber.
Where's that then?
It's downstairs, actually, in the kitchen. Before you race to conclusions. It's getting to room temperature. I can't stand fridge temperature food, apart from some.
No, when you said it's the cucumber, and I couldn't see it, and I said, "Where is it?" You said it's downstairs in the kitchen. I thought, is he? I'm like,
is he continuing the metaphor?
Is he? Is this?
You're so end of the pier.
Is this code that I don't know about? Yeah. Good luck with your cucumber throughout the show, anyway. And
I can give you a Q watch later if you want.
Well, do you know what?
Update.
I kind of get terrible heartburn when I eat cucumber, so I'm sure it'll repeat between now and the end of the programme anyway. So,
very good.
Comedy news.
As if cucumber wasn't funny enough on his own.
I sent you a little clipette. I hope you got it. Jamie Demetriou, who we slabbed in Stathlet's Flats.
Get a grip, man.
Which I have to say, I mean, we loved, didn't we? We kind of, I think we gave it reasonably high marks.
I think you loved it slightly more than me, but sorry, carry on.
Well, no, I was going to say, by the time the second series rolled around, I kind of felt it became a pastiche of itself. Really, it was an odd thing. It was just like a kind of a one-trick pony. I think they should have stopped at one series, and I think we'd have all felt a little bit more fondly about it. Anyway, I just noticed that he's well, it caught my attention because it's the top line after Jamie Demetriou signs BBC Studios deal. Jamie Demetriou is entering a creative partnership with BBC Studios, talking about euphemisms. What do you make of this?
It's an interesting one. Is it a golden handcuffs? I mean, there is I'm obviously not cynical, and neither are you. No. But there is a cynical part of the business where people get signed, and this happens in the music industry as well. People get signed so other rival companies can't get hold of them.
Yes.
Now, we have to hope that's not the case here. And there's absolutely no evidence it is. And my hunch is that it's not the case at all. But it's now, bear in mind, it's BBC Studios, the commercial wing of the BBC, rather than the BBC proper. That might be, you might think that's not much of a distinction. But is it wise? Do both parties end up shackled in a way that they might live to regret?
Can I ask you, did you get the impression, because I scoured the article and I couldn't find anything that would indicate this was the case, did you get the impression that he'd got something, i.e. he'd got a script or a show or an idea, or there was no mention of, as far as I could ascertain, of anything that I'm going to the BBC to make this?
Now you mention it, no, there's extensive mentions quite rightly, for all the other work he's done and the fact he's got his own company, which is People Day Limited. What it left me wondering was, has he got a sort of, not quite script editing, but has he got a sort of first refusal on other people's scripts?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, I don't think, it doesn't seem to refer to that. It sounds like, well, I mean, he goes for the Trinity. I love TV, he says. I love comedy, I love scripts. So he's blending all three, as he says, for BBC Studios. So, but I love scripts is not the same as saying I love writing scripts, is it, necessarily? Or it doesn't mean he has to be writing all of them.
Or it doesn't, it's not, I see, I would have thought he was going to say, I've got this great idea for a show that, and all right, he probably doesn't want to mention what it is, but I've got this great idea for a show that I've been working on. And the BBC are as excited about it as I am, and we're going to make it, But it isn't. It's all kind of very loose and very vague, and like you say, I love TV, I love comedy, I love scripts. He's not really what you want to hear in that sense. I'm guessing. I mean, the thing about it is, I mean, he's a talent. There's no question about it. He's from. He was what was his character? Was it Ratface in?
I was going to ask you that in Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Fleabag.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was a guy who was
Ratface on the bus or something.
That's right.
The credit, the memorable credit.
Before we started recording, we were just talking about comedy teeth, and I think he took them to the. Took them to the max, didn't he? There, but
I think he must have inherited Dick Emery's Vickers comedy teeth, which is what you were referring to, because we're of a certain age.
Yes. Yeah,
yes, he's regenerated the teeth. Maybe he's put them in. I was going to say Alka-Seltzer. That's not what he put them in. Sterident. I shouldn't know such things, should I? Given I've got a full complement of my own gnashers. Thank you very much.
Here's one. He keeps them in a box under the bed. Here's one for you that I don't know whether you know. It's just because I was listening to a book of theirs the other day. Do you know which comedian, or should I say comedic actor, was a big fan of Dick Emery? Real big fan. I mean, a real big ally. He thought he was fantastic.
Are we talking of someone of a younger generation, or rather who would have been young when Dick Emery was a star in the 70s?
No, he was an older, well-established guy when Dick Emery was knocking about, I would have thought. Yeah, he was, he got his own body of work. And
it's not like an Anthony Hopkins who would have been younger then, who loves Tommy Cooper, but something like that.
No, he'd have probably
been a classical actor.
He'd have been in. Well, I don't know whether he is or not, but I mean, he's a comedic actor, certainly. I mean, all the stuff I know him for is comedy. I think he has done serious stuff in his very early career, but he very much. So I put you out your misery.
Well, it's not Richard Wilson then.
No. He's no longer with us, I should say. He's been gone for some time, the guy in question. But if I said, Ian, no, stop messing about.
Not messing about. A certain Kenneth Williams.
Yeah, Kenneth Williams in his book, one of his books. Yeah, I thought so as well. Saying,
you'd have thought he might have been a comedy rival.
Yeah, or even he would have been a little bit sneering, and I don't think he was. I think when he came to comedy, I think Kenneth Williams kind of just loved a laugh. Is the impression I got of him, but yeah, it's.
But he could be terribly sneery. I mean, he was sneery about his own work in a way, wasn't he?
He hated it, didn't he? Hated some
because
of it.
he wanted to be famous for performing the classics and Shakespeare and all that jazz.
Infamy, I'm friends, Roman countrymen, I know. All that sort of stuff, yeah.
I mean, he was snooty with his poor papa, who was a hairdresser, wasn't he? Or a barber, even.
Barber, yeah.
I mean, terribly snobby, I've heard some quotes, and that could have been probably was so hurtful.
Just shows you, doesn't it, comedy relationships, you'd never fathom them out. Anyway, sorry, the BBC have said about this partnership. So blah, blah, blah. He's one of the most gifted comics in the country. We're thrilled to have been chosen. They're thrilled that he has chosen to develop his next scripted projects with BBC Studios. So they're alluding that there's more than one and that they'll be scripted, so therefore not improvised, or presumably stand-up would fall outside of that as well. We're talking about some kind of sitcom. And that will play an active role in bringing his creative ideas to life for domestic and international audiences. And I think that's a reference there because the BBC studios helped to syndicate stuff, Let's Flats around the world, didn't they, in Canada and various other places.
And also Greece, which is interesting because he's a Greek.
It's a Greek thing, yeah. Yeah. It is quite interesting, that. But yeah, I just sat there and I read it all and I thought, so what are they doing? What was the middle bit? I just thought it was just really odd, really odd. But I'm glad you mentioned music because there's nothing new in the world of music in this, is there, where they'll sign the artist and then say, right, let's make some albums.
Well, even the likes of U2 have been bound into a 6-album deal in the past. I've no idea what their arrangement is now. But I tell you what it made me think of.
Yeah.
Your mate Alan Davis being sort of championed. You could argue this is quite different apart from the comedy link. Alan Davis back in the 90s was championed by the Observer newspaper. And it was more of a newspaper than a website then, although it was probably a transitional phase, as it remains. But the interesting thing about that is, I was just thinking, as I sipped on my gin on the veranda this very evening, I thought, okay, great for Alan Davis. You can see the sense of that. Probably good for the Observer up to a point, although it's a slightly strange thing to do, because if you review Alan Davis's show in the Observer, well, you can't give him 1 star, can you, out of 5?
No.
But then I thought, well, isn't there an incentive there for the rival newspapers and listings magazines, Time Out, and before that became more a website and a freebie? Isn't there an incentive for them to be quite nasty to Alan Davis? Because it can be a backbiting world, can't it?
Yeah, use Alan Davis as the stick to beat the Observer with, kind of
exactly,
thing.
Yeah, exactly. If especially if you're a tabloid who wants to have a go at liberal lefties driving Range Rovers in NW3 in Hampstead in London.
Yeah.
Which is you, basically.
I tell you, it'll be interesting, and I'm sure we'll be across it then. And let's hope that we're still slabbing good and strong by this stage, by the time they do actually get something off the ground. But it'd be interesting to see 2 things, I think. First of all, how long it takes something to get to the screen, if we don't all forget about it in between, and what it's going to be like. I think it's fascinating to watch now. They've kind of set out their stall and said, look, we've got the guy. We haven't really got the show, the plan. We don't really know what's, or if we do, we're kind of making it sound like we don't really know. And so when we see it or hear it, it'll be quite interesting, won't it?
It will. We ought to keep an eye out for that.
Anyway, more on the story. If you want to have a look at that, it's at comedy.co.uk. Where you can get the details. Anyway, on to Henry the Ninth. It's a fictitious contemporary court of Henry the Ninth, King of the United Kingdom. And it does boil down to a more simplistic story than that, but we'll probably come back more to that as we go through the podcast. Were you aware of this? Is this something that struck your consciousness?
No, on both counts. So it was a discovery, a revelation. Didn't know what to make of it, but as with all shows, and easier if I have got no sort of, as it were, potential for prejudice with prior knowledge of shows, then it's a complete blank slate, and I always look forward to trying out something new. You mentioned Sally Phillips. Well, I mean, come on. If that didn't prejudice me in a positive sense,
I knew you'd be happy.
What could?
Yeah, I knew you'd be happy. Can I just one little point? Does it, as it does me, does it annoy you that we kind of it slips under the radar because it's on Gold, it's on one of UK TV's channels, and not everybody's got it. I mean, it's part of the disparate world of TV scheduling, isn't it now? But I just kind of think, isn't it sad that these kind of things almost go unnoticed? And it was only a 3-parter. I doubt it's going to get another series, and that's it. It's all that work and all those great people, and it's gone.
Yeah, it does sadden me. Yeah, and I mean, we've just got to get into good habits, all of us who love comedy, of spreading the love and sharing these things. And I guess, if you and I spent more time on what I still call anti-social media, then I guess we'd come across more stuff. If you're on the right groups and subgroups, and then you tell Twitter that you like comedy, which of course we have on our own Comedy Slab account. But I don't see everything. You couldn't possibly be across everything, could you? Because we've all got other lives outside of this as well. So yeah, we've just got to pass the word around, and it's lovely for us, you and me, Shane, to be able to, at least in our own small way on the Comedy Slab, to put stuff in front of people that they may not have heard of.
Well, the one thing that I didn't mention about this, Adrian, is that it's a Clement and Frenais penned comedy. So I mean, it comes out of a pretty fine stable, doesn't it? That really, when you put those two names two at the end of it.
Yeah, and also lovely to see just how many years they've been productive. This is 2017, and they were, well, I mean, they probably were going in the late 60s. Certainly, they were on fire by the 70s. So they must have got a head start in the 60s, I imagine. And still well thought of, still getting commission. That's the thing. Shall we have a listen to a quick clip of this series? It's episode 1. There is only one series as we speak, and this is from episode 1 of Henry IX. It stars Charles Edwards as King Henry. I felt I knew him from somewhere, but when I looked up what he'd done, I didn't think I did. It was really strange. The wonderful Don Warrington, who of course many people of a certain age will know from Rising Damp. And many other great actors and actresses in there, including, as Adrian mentioned, Sally Phillips as well. The first clip then, we see we kind of follow through the King's morning routine, in as far as we kind of watch him struggle to wake up in the morning despite bagpipes playing outside. See, this is the one thing about the Raws have got it easy. What a doddle of a job it is. But you don't have to listen to as much bagpipes as they ever do. So you got to take the rough with the smooth, haven't you? The next part of his morning involves his dresser, or his Batman, his valet. I'm not really quite sure. He wasn't referred to as a job title, but a man called Gilbert. Played by Don Warrington, and the two of them are having their morning tete-a-tete.
What do you think about bagpipes, Gilbert?
I rarely do, sir.
They always make me think of a cat caught in a vacuum cleaner. What would the repercussions be if I cancelled them?
The Scots would hold another referendum and almost certainly part company with your kingdom.
Oh. Look, we don't want that, do we? No, don't want that. It would mean I wouldn't have to wear a kilt. I hate kilts! I have to think like a woman every time I get out of a Range Rover. My worst nightmare is picnics at Balmoral and some paparazzi squatting in the gorse capturing me on his long lens. Next day, royal testicles all over Instagram.
Perish the thought, sir.
Perish the thought indeed, although it would remind the Queen what they look like.
May we inquire where these came from, sir?
Yes, the Prince of Wales thought I'd like those. They're Paul Smith. They're very, very now, he assures me.
So are nose rings and tattoos, sir.
Well, I have a tattoo, Gilbert, from my time in the Navy.
Indeed you do, sir. And I imagine I'm one of the very few who knows where it is.
I don't wish to know that. What with squatting in the gorse and long lenses and bagpipes. I feel I should fight the corner for bagpipes. There's a quarter Scot. That part of me actually loves bagpipes. But
really?
Boy, are they loud.
I had a mate who used to play the bagpipes, and he left them on the back seat of his car overnight. Foolishly, left them on the back seat of his car overnight. Left the car unlocked, and got up the next morning, and somebody left another set beside them.
What are you like?
I
was just rowing back from your borderline racist comments. You rotter. Okay, you'll be wanting a headline now.
Oh, please go on, you tease.
On a hunch, do you think it's going to be positive or negative?
I think it's going to be positive because you're giving me the face.
Yeah, I don't do the acting bit on Skype that you do, whereby you have a complete deadpan, impassive expression when the tables are reversed, tables are turned when it's my week to set your homework. Here's the headline, and it's unusually for me. I've got one prepared, and it's not too long, so it seems to tick the box. A right royal treat.
Oh, nice. I'm pleased about that. I am pleased about that. There's part of you that kind of thinks you do have ownership of it, don't you? I mean, even though we choose stuff, we don't choose it because we like it. We choose stuff because it occurs to us. But I always think that. I think, I hope I haven't given him a miserable week listening or watching to some royal tripe that he can't stand.
I have to say, though, in the first few minutes, it was a bit of a slow burn by today's standards, which, and you might think, oh, hang on. I mean, it's very easy to be ageist and undervalue if you extend the thought there. I'm not saying it's necessarily my thought. I'm sitting on the fence here, but is it Messrs. Frenais and Clement perhaps not quite adapting to modern audiences and expectations? Then you think, well, come on, they've earned their stripes. They can say, sod it, let the audience catch up with us.
Yes.
We don't have to pander to everything. I mean, we didn't have a studio audience, so that must be relatively unusual for them. Although I will throw in very quickly, one week listening to my favourite running accompaniment, which is Johnny Walker's Sounds of the 70s on my headphones as I run around. Who were on but Messrs. Frenais and Clement for writing a play which was in the West End. This is not so many months ago. Made a mental note to try and get tickets. Never got around to it. You know what I'm like.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it was, and guessing from your face, that it was a similarly enthusiastic reception for you.
Bit of class, I thought. Bit of class. All round, bit of class writing. Beautifully shot. Sets were very believable, and so much so that you kind of forgot that you weren't in royal company. I mean, Sally Phillips doing her kind of what is that Norwegian kind of thing that she does? But she does so well. I've seen her do it in a few things now, and it's really believable and comedic at the same time. And then Don Warrington, and I really know what you mean about pace, and it was a real slow start. But I think when any scene that's got Don Warrington in, I mean, he really has. I mean, I always used to like him in Rising Damp, because he was kind of the lines that they used to give him. Eric Chappell used to give him in that. He just sort of pipe in just at the right time. He'd always have these like lines that were like kind of very provocative as well. That would start Rigsby off, and he would be, he kind of, he would be the blue touch paper, wouldn't he? In that, and I used to love watching him in that. But I mean, as he's got older, I just kind of think, why do I not see him in more? Why do I not see him in more drama? He'd make an excellent villain or baddie, and you kind of think, the casting possibilities are almost endless, aren't they, for the guy? And he's just got this wonderful voice. I started to then think, well, does Gilbert actually like the king, or is he just really, has he had enough of him, or is he just like kind of in complete desperation of how difficult he is to manage, and he won't fit into Gilbert's routine?
No, but I think that's coming. That's an actor realising, in the old cliche, lifting the lines off the page.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting, I mean, we know we're in the land of class writing, but even a little while when I've written stuff for an actor friend, I'm so pleasantly surprised what he brings out of it, that subtext that I didn't even know, well, I hadn't written it, I hadn't even conceived of it, but a good actor, and my friend is, he worked at the Royal Shakespeare Company, so he's no slouch. I'm so honoured, humbled, all those other things.
Darling.
Darling, it's marvellous. But, the fact that he can bring that to a line that I've, I like to think I've given it some thought, but a richness it's giving to it, and I think that's what Don Warrington's bringing here, don't you? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the other great side of this is Charles Edwards, who, again, I mentioned at the start, I thought, well, I feel like I should know the guy, and at first I thought it was the guy who, and I can't remember his name now, who shares a flat with Toast.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was him for a moment. Is that David someone? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I apologise to him because I'm lousy with names. But another fine actor.
But Charles Edwards, did you know him from any of the other stuff he's done?
No, but I was racking my brains. But I mean, he's got the face, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it turns out posh upbringing, perhaps not such a surprise. Educated at Winchester College, darling. There might be a Winston College out there, but I don't think he went there.
I think it's online only, actually, Winston College.
Yeah, it's a misspelling that they hope no one will notice.
Yeah, he's just got this look. I tell you what he was in that you would have seen him in. He played Michael Palin in Holy Flying Circus, which was that biopic. I don't know if you saw it, of the whole row that erupted with, was it Malcolm Muggeridge or something?
Oh gosh, yes, and where they got bishops on arguing with them on the telly.
That's
Amazing.
it. Yeah, they were bashing the bishop, weren't they? And on live TV.
Steady. Should we move along?
So we shouldn't we really? But yeah,
put your mitre down.
Here's the thing. Having said all of that, and well and truly blown smoke up Dick and Ian in the nicest possible way for their writing and the cast for their great acting and all the rest of it. There was part of me that thought, oh yeah, but, and the but is the second string storyline on this, which is that he's all very disillusioned and he doesn't want to be king anymore. And I don't think I've given too much away, because that's kind of like the whole raison d'etre of this thing.
Yeah.
Is it, the man, the midlife crisis, and I thought, is that a bit hackneyed, a bit done to death? Is that a bit, I don't know, a bit predictable?
That didn't worry me so much as, and there's a slight spoiler here, but I don't think it'll ruin it at all. And it's not a shock. I mean, it's part of many people's midlife crises. He falls for someone else because there was a bit of a gaping plot hole, dare one suggest, that he feels am I allowed to mention what the wonderful Annette Crosby as Queen calls the A word?
Well, can I just say that I think calling me a gaping plot hole is the worst thing I've ever been called in my entire life, but carry on. No, I think we have to mention the A word, don't we?
So the A word is not anything ruder than abdication, but if you're a queen or anyone in the firm, as the Duke of Edinburgh used to call the royal family, then it is a rude word, and it's unthinkable. It's been unthinkable for Her Majesty, the real Her Majesty, all these decades. But he wouldn't need to abdicate, would he, as king, to have a little fling, and that rhymes with the person they very disparagingly call the flower girl. She's actually a florist.
She's a florist in the palace, isn't she? Did you get the impression then? See, I read that slightly differently. I don't know whether I've read it wrong now.
No, you make me think I've read it wrong.
Oh, okay. But I didn't get the impression that the two were inextricably linked. I got the impression that he'd had enough of being king, and he also was very taken with this young lady. I mean, I think at one stage he did say, "Oh, because I want to kiss a flower girl," or something like that, or somebody said something along those lines. Yeah, and I felt that was more poetic than accurate in that sense. But you thought it was, he felt he wanted to abdicate because of her.
Well, I'm more inclined now to think the gaping hole is in my perception and consciousness. And
we're just a pair of gaping holes, aren't we? That's the trouble.
No, yeah, I might have got it wrong. It's not beyond the bounds of possibility, especially when we're dealing with the class acts, not just you, of course, but the aforementioned cast and writers. What we haven't seen is a king with a midlife crisis. I find it totally believable. If you think a certain Prince Charles has been waiting, he's in his 70s now, he still hasn't got the top gig.
But he hasn't thrown his hand in and said, right, I'm off to go and live in Brazil with a topless go-go dancer or what. You know what I mean? It's like
say that. That's not what he told me the other night.
But he's kind of hung around, hasn't he? Like a fart in a spacesuit. He's got
How very dare you! Off with his head. You are pushing your luck, and I think a free trip to the Tower of London, but unfortunately only a one-way trip, might be in prospect.
You see, I thought I just wasn't going to get an MBE, but it looks like it's obviously it's obviously worse than that.
It could be much worse.
Oh, okay,
much worse. Yeah. Look, we don't know, do we? We don't know what's going on inside his head, but He has run, I think he's got 100 different organisations to his name. I nearly said charities. They're not necessarily all charities at all, are they? But organisations that he puts his name to, and, from the duchy comestibles to I passed a place in the West End once, so something to do with Islamic art. He's got his name over the door, and then Prince's Trust, of course.
Would you like to come up and see my duchy comestible? Yeah, it's not.
Is it next to my gaping hole?
Do you know? I took the kids to there's a reservoir not far from where I live, and when we want a treat after nursery, I'll take them to the reservoir, and we go and have there's an ice cream van there. And I said to the girl in the ice cream van, I said, I'll have 2 knobbly bobblies, please. I said, there's a sentence I didn't think I'd say when I got up this morning.
In front of the children as well. And to a woman who isn't your wife.
2 of your finest knobbly bobblies.
Oh, and you don't think the marketing department didn't see the potential of that?
How I laughed, and up until the point she called the police. It was it was very amusing.
And you were taken away in handcuffs.
Very amusing.
And not what the pink fluffies thought.
No. And they couldn't see my knobbly bobblies, I tell you.
Well, let's hope not. Let's move swiftly on, shall we, with the second audio clip?
I think we should. The great and the good, including the Prime Minister and the Metropolitan Police Chief, are all gathered around this gorgeous, beautiful, large table in the palace. And they're all there ostensibly to discuss the upcoming King's Silver Jubilee celebrations. We couldn't have left it at a better time, could we? For it to be more,
yeah, with the platinum celebration.
Incredible, isn't it? Yeah. So it's supposed to be the King's Silver Jubilee celebration. That's what they're supposed to be discussing. But the King, as Adrian mentioned, has got other ideas, and he drops a bombshell.
Did he just use the A word?
What do you think, Damien? Perhaps I should announce it on the Graham Norton show, and the girls from Salford can be the musical guests.
Genius, sir. I'll fix it. I know Graham's people.
His Majesty is not serious.
You're quite wrong, Katerina. His Majesty is entirely serious. I telephoned the Prince of Wales last night. He'll be flying in so I can discuss the situation with him.
Excuse me, Your Majesty. It's always been thought, as I understand it, that he was unsuitable on the grounds of his personality and temperament.
Because of the rumours that he's gay?
That, sir, I just assumed he was artistic.
He is artistic. And he's sensitive. No, he didn't fly an Apache in Afghanistan, and he hates fox hunting. That doesn't mean he's gay. I mean, for heaven's sake, he's almost engaged to what's her name?
Jessie Wilton.
Yeah, but precisely. So where do these rumours start?
Daddy. He went to a Rufus Wainwright concert 3 nights in a row.
There are other options. In 1649, after Cromwell had beheaded Charles I, England had no kings at all for 4 years. Just putting it out there.
I love the idea of the real Queen saying, just putting it out there, and sounding hip and trendy, or attempting to. Annette Crosby, as I say, brilliant.
Awesome,
I do believe it.
Yeah. Did you recognise Pippa Hayward, by the way? Who played the Prime Minister? Did you?
No, I'm just saying she was fabulous, but they were all strong performances. But you're going to tell me why I should know her.
Spin your mind back. Green Wing.
She wasn't the freaky one, was she?
She was the one that was having a relationship with the Mark Heap character. And they were always having passionate fumbling.
Weird. Gosh, that's some range, isn't it?
Yeah. She was also Brutus's wife in the British Empire, with Chris Barry, who was in that. She was in Plebs. She was in the Porridge reboot. And here's one for you. The first thing that she was ever in on TV comedy, was Home James, starring Jim Davidson.
No.
Yeah. That was the first thing.
Well, you've got to start somewhere, as they say.
She played this kind of upper-class twit sort of thing in the pub. But, yeah, I think she's fab, I do, Pippa Hayward. I could watch her all day long. I think she's such a good comedic actor.
Must credit the production companies, joint production between retort and serious comedy.
I tell you what I did spend an inordinate amount of time doing was Googling and trying to find out whether they have golf carts running around Buckingham Palace.
Oh, that was I was going to mention that. That was a lovely thing. His idea of independence was, I mean, he's driven indoors. I mean, that's the beauty of having wide corridors, isn't it? You can do that. But the actual comedic conceit, thinking of that golf buggy on the inside of a palace, and his idea of independence, King Henry IX, who doesn't really want, as we're gathering, doesn't want to be king anymore, is to drive his own golf buggy as opposed to one of the flunkies doing it.
He didn't do that very well either, does he, really? But the Queen does actually have one. She does own a golf cart. She owns a £26,000 golf cart.
Is it gold encrusted?
Which I think, since she's not been in the best of health, I think she kind of uses on royal visits now, so rather than walk about the place. But yeah, they got at the top of the range, £26,000 golf cart. I didn't even know. I've had a flat that was worth less than that. but yeah.
I drove a golf buggy when I was working in sound on the golf as an outside broadcast.
Oh, did you?
And I knew someone, it can now be revealed all these years later, one of my colleagues, his skill was not hot wiring it, but getting rid of the speed limiter. It was the first thing he did on day one. So he put his boot down and this thing would take off.
It didn't go off like a rocket.
Exactly.
They found him in a lake 4 golf courses away.
Yeah. I imagine Her Majesty's probably does have the speed limiter on it, just for safety.
Yeah.
Gina Bellman, haven't seen her since the Dennis Potter final drama, when Dennis was, just in the process, leaving us. I think he had just died by the time it got to air, but it was the last thing he wrote. Gina Bellman, do you remember those? Did you see that?
No, I remember the furore about them. Wasn't it all a bit racy? Was it? It was a bit.
Yeah, and actually it wasn't that good. But I mean, not many people do their very best work right at the end of their lives.
No.
But he did manage to unite Channel 4 and BBC Two, I think it was. He asked that it would go out on both of those channels, which were rivals and still are rivals, and they did that as a mark of respect for him.
Oh, well, that's good. Should we give it some numbers anyway? And
I guess we must do. Yes,
score it to the max. What do you want to start? What are you going with?
I'm going for a Right Royal 4 out of 5.
Oh,
by
nice. Royal
appointment to me as a viewer.
Yes, I'm afraid rather boringly. I'm going to have to give it the same.
Oh, don't apologise. That's brilliant. So 8 out of 10 cats said their regal owners preferred it.
Loved it.
So that's brilliant.
Nice little gem. I'm going to watch the other 2 anyway. I know I was going to say, do you want me to indulge you as well? But it's pointless asking, isn't it, really? I mean, you've watched one. There can be no more asked of you.
Yeah, but it's got Sally Phillips in with her wonderful accent. So yeah. I think I might have to see the other 2.
Oh, okay. We'll see if we get on anyway.
I can always make an exception, very occasionally.
Henry IX, unfortunately, and I always put a link into where you can find these places. Well, I say unfortunately, you never know. You might be able to find it yourself, but I really struggle to find where you could watch it. But if I get anything in the meantime, then I should put a link up so you can go and have a look and see for yourself.
But it must be in the UK TV vaults being commissioned by Gotch.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you've got Sky, then you probably would be able to access it. Maybe, I don't know whether they have on demand on Sky or whether that's a thing that you could do it through there. But I'll do some more research anyway before this all goes out. Now, what have you got for us next week?
Well, Boo Boo, I have something which I have to say the title just intrigues me, even the grammar of it, how they got to it. Have you heard of Only Murders in the Building? Or maybe it's pronounced Only Moiders in the Building.
No. Is it British or American? Or?
It is an American production, and as we speak, it has just popped up new series, second series, on Disney Plus, which we're getting used to associating with good quality comedy, we know these days.
Okay.
And drama. So I have for you Series 2, Episode 1 of Only Murders in the Building. Now, it's only got Steve Bloomin' Martin in, hasn't it? In case you were wondering if you were going to like it. Not to put too much pressure on you. I'm intrigued by the grammar of it. Only murders in the building. Does that, there's some kind of investigation, and I'm guessing it might be that they only investigate murders in the building, but we'll have to see. Because I'm as fresh to it as it sounds like you are. There is an episode title which is rather mouth-watering. It's called Cakes.
Oh, I'm in.
So, yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
So even if you don't like the TV series, you can at least be eating cakes in honour of it while you watch it. Only Murders in the Building on Disney Plus, and we'll find out if there's any other places you can get it. Series 2, Episode 1, and Steve Martin. Well, I could be tempting fate and saying what's not to like, but it's at least worth some comedy slab serious investigation.
Absolutely. I love it when you do that, when I've got never even heard of it, not a clue, and you kind of think, it's something, it's like an undiscovered gem, isn't it? You think, let's scrape the muck off this and have a look, see what's underneath.
That's assuming there is any muck to scrape off.
There's always muck to scrape. What's the matter with you?
Well, you find it, don't you?
Mad fool, yes.
Have you ever thought it might be you and your muck that's
putting the muck on it in the first place? Yes, I never thought.
When you go, something doesn't smell right. Yeah, everywhere you go.
Yeah.
The same thing.
It is everywhere I go. It's
figure.
weird, isn't it? Yes. That mucky smell. Thank you so much for your attention this time round. I do appreciate it. And don't forget, if you want to go and have a quick flick through our back catalogue, it doesn't matter.
Not a euphemism.
It doesn't matter.
It sounds filthy coming from you.
It always does. Doesn't matter how I say it. It always sounds disgusting, doesn't it? Really. If you want to go and I can't even say that one. No. Yeah, if you want to go and have a listen to our back catalogue, then you are more than welcome. Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, to name but a few. And if you find that we're not on your favourite one, give us a shout, let us know, and we'll do our very best to make sure we're there as well, if it makes it easy for you. If you can't do any of those things, give us a shout, and we'll come round and recreate the podcast in your lounge. And
through the medium of dance.
Through the medium of that's a good idea. Yeah.
And I'll play my flute like David Williams in Little Britain. If you'd asked me on a Tuesday.
Oh, God. Oh, God, I've forgotten all about that. Yes. I must get my leotard out the wash. Okay. Yes.
Oh, that's what's causing the musty smell. I knew it was something.
Musty.
And I knew it wasn't me.
That's a generational word, isn't it? Musty.
Musty.
If my mother, God rest her soul, always used to use the word fusty.
Fusty. Oh, that's a good one as well.
Very fusty.
Is that a combination of frozen and musty? I don't know. Anyway, on the anti-social media type things, we are no surprise to learn we're at Comedy Slab on Twitter, and at Comedy Slab is also the handle for our Facebook page. If you could like the latter and follow us on the former, I'm sure wonderful gifts will be yours. Pennies from heaven, to pick up on an earlier theme. What else to say? We love it if you pass on a personal recommendation, or is it still personal if it's via Zoom or FaceTime or one of them lot things. Doesn't matter. Teams meeting. If you get the word out, we'll love you, and so will the people you recommend us to. So thank you in advance for that. And likewise, any generous star rating, hopefully a multi-star rating on Apple Podcasts / iTunes, and a little bit of blurb saying why you like the Slab would be hugely appreciated.
So that's it. It's Toodle Pip from your two favourite gaping plot holes. It's time for Adrian to slip the cucumber out, and believe me, you don't want to be hanging around when that happens. So I suggest you just make your excuses and leave as soon as you possibly can.
Not forgetting a reminder for you to put your fusty, musty, dusty, rusty leotard in the washing machine before anyone else suffers.